You can switch your monitor off. I hope this is going to go away because I'm beginning to croak. I'm not used to talking so much either. Right, so let's get going. So we're going to share screen and share, and hopefully slideshow from beginning. So can everybody see the slideshow okay now? Yep, smashing. Okay. I hope, right, that's a great start, isn't it? It's gone right back to the beginning. So let's go to part 2, because we don't really want to hear all of that again, do we? That is not a good start. Where's part 2 gone? There we go. Okay, you go back a bit of deja vu otherwise. Part 2. So we're going to move on a little bit from yesterday. We will go back over bits, and obviously I think apart from Rini, I think everybody was here yesterday, but we'll just muddle through. So today I'm going to have a look at some of the note values. So how long we hold notes on for when we're singing. Have a look at what a time signature is and hopefully recognize it and maybe understand a little bit about what it means. And again, I don't expect you to become an expert in reading music, but we'll just so you can recognize the symbols for a sharp, a flat or natural, and what that might actually mean for you when you're singing, and what a key signature is. Okay, so this is where we hit a little bit of a problem, because we are going to use different terminology, I think, possibly. But so starting off, before we get to the words, a note's length is, you're going to need to know 3 things. You're going to need to know whether it has a stem, so it's the sticky bit, whether its note head is actually filled in black, or whether it's see-through, and I'll show you in a minute a little bit about that, and whether it's got a little tail on it. Okay, so if you look at that one, it's actually filled in, it's got a stem, and it's got a tail. So if you look at the this lot here, we've got one with a stem. We've got 2 that have got tails on. These do join together when they put together, and we've got ones like that. And how fast these go will depend very much, if we remember yesterday, on the direction of the composer or the arranger, how many beats we've got in a minute. So can anybody just shout out, can anybody remember how quickly Allegro or 120 would be? Are we slow, fast, medium? Anybody remember? Music team?
Fast.
Fairly fast.
Fairly fast, that one. Allegro is fairly fast.
Yeah.
And 120 beats a minute means you basically, each beat's half a second long. Okay, so it would be something like, but if I put 60 beats a minute, that one would be, so it's the same rhythm, but it's slower. And we could go even slower. We could go.
Not hearing that.
I can only hear your voice, Claire.
Oh,
we can't hear you clapping.
Oh dear.
If you put it, yeah, if
you have to go to
you have to change the sound.
All right, okay. That's really weird, isn't it? Because if I'm talking, you think you'd hear me clapping as well.
No.
All right, okay. Well, imagine I was clapping quicker or slower. I don't want to waste time going back over that. So basically, I suppose I could sing it.
Yeah, go on, go for it, Claire.
I'll just do it on da, 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 or da, 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 da. So I could do it slower. I could go da, 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 da. Right, so I could go do 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 do. So the actual length of notes will depend on how we are directed by the composer or our conductor, how fast we go, but the actual values in relation to one another would stay the same. So here we come to names. Now in the UK, this is what we use. Whoops, previous. And I know that not everybody does. American, I don't know why I found this chart, it actually said German. I don't know why.
That's correct.
Is that correct? So do the rest of Europe not do the same as the Germans? Is that what that's saying?
In Holland, it's also like American and German.
Okay, so perhaps that should read European then, maybe German. Yeah. So we call these notes here semi-breves, and you call them whole notes. I am going to be, I'm afraid, I'm going to stick with the British names because they're the ones that I know, and I'm going to get confused even more. But if you can have, I'm going to keep this chart hopefully on the screen as much as I can. Okay. So this note is always worth 4 beats. This one is always worth 2. This one's worth 1. This one's worth half, and this one's worth a quarter. We can have demi-semiquavers, but I think we don't need to worry about those at the moment. Okay, and if you notice, the more tails you add, the shorter the note becomes. So that's the longest note. This one has a tail, but it's coloured in. It's not coloured in, so that means it's slightly longer than this one that is coloured in. And then we get another tail and another 2 tails here. So basically, they are the main notes that you will come across in terms of their values. Okay. As I mentioned already before, when you get 2 notes on the same space or the same line, in other words, the same note, you usually join them together like that. And you can do the same with the semiquavers as well. So you do 2 lines to show that they are actually shorter. So that one would be whoops. Oh, come on, sorry. So that one would be okay. Right. Okay. So all of these would add up to exactly the same amount of time. So this is worth 4 beats. 2 and a 2 make 4. 4 ones make 4. 8 quavers make 4. And then we've got 4, 8, 6, 12, 16. Maths went wrong there. Semiquavers to make 4 beats as well. Now I'm hoping this is going to work with the sound now. I'm a bit I think I put share sound on. So let's just see if we can get this little video to play. And then you can hear how that works. Come on, load, 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 load. You hear that? Okay, I'm going to play that again. Two, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 4 and 3 and 4 and 4 and 4. Right, once more, get that in your head. I can't actually speak quickly enough to get that last one out at the same time. Does that give everybody, or hopefully gives you a rough idea of how the same number of notes will fit into the same space? So we've got obviously 1 long one, 2 slightly long, shorter ones, 4 even shorter, shorter, very, very short at the end. Okay, so let's just come out of that. And now, when you look at a piece of music, you will obviously be aware that if we're singing, for example, we don't always sing every single moment. There are times when we are told not to sing, and these are called rests. I think it's important that we understand those in relation to the notes that we've just looked at. So this one is a whole beat rest. They are quite hard to draw. I don't think I ever really mastered a good way of drawing those on a score, and I had to write things out. This one is you might have to move your pictures around if that's in that. That's a quaver rest. This one is a minim rest. That's 2 beats. And this one is a semiquaver. That's a little bit easier to draw. And the last one is the equivalent of 4 beats. So that's a semi-breve rest. Okay. I hope you can all see those because I'm actually moving my photos around because it's filling the screen. So hopefully they're all okay. Okay. And the last thing we need to have a quick look at before we actually look at a piece of music to see whether any of that makes any sense, whatever. Often you will, well, sometimes often you'll see a little note, a little dot after the note. And that means you increase its value by half again. So this one is now actually worth 1.5 beats. Got a little dot after that. Okay. And this one, obviously this one's a 2-beat one. And it's got a little dot after it. So that increases it by 50%. So that gives it another beat. So that one would actually be worth 3 beats. Okay. I'm hoping that's okay. So let's just have a look at this first piece of actual score. So we've got 3 1-beat notes, 2 half beats, 4 1 beats, 3 1 beats, 2 half beats, 3 1 beats, and then we have our first rest there. We have a whole beat rest. We sing 1 note, got a rest. We sing another note, we've got a rest. So this one's quite an easy rhythm. We've got dum, 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 da, da, dum, 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 da, dum, 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 rest, dum, rest. And I think if you sang that one, you'll well remember that one. And if you look at this one, this is from White Cliffs of Dover. So we've got, everyone had 2 beats rest there. Look at the rest. And then we've got the last 2 beats of the bar were all together. So 2 single notes. Then we've got two notes. So I'm not going to sing. There'll be blue birds over. So that one's shorter than what? The White Cliffs of Dover. Whoa. Do you know what? I haven't used PowerPoint since I was at teaching a long time ago now. And it's far more sensitive than it used to be. You've only got to touch the mouse and it shoots something else onto the screen. I do apologise there. And if you notice, if you're looking at the whole score there, the baritones actually had 2 notes there where we had 1. Okay, so that they've got 4 beats in the bar there. And if you look at this one, we've got a quaver rest. We've got a 2-beat rest followed by a quaver rest, 3 half beats. So it would be, it's not the end. Everything has happened for a reason. Oh dear, it happened for a reason. Now, hopefully we know those songs, so you would have known the rhythm anyway. But that hopefully gives you a little bit of an idea of how all of this fits into the bits that we have to sing. I'll go back and look in a minute, but sometimes we have to, the way the notes are written, rather than writing it as that one is a 2-beat note, it's actually written as 2 single notes. So if it's exactly the same note and it's got a line joining it, that means you hold that on for 2 beats, that one. And this one is a 2-beat one and a 1-beat one, so you'd hold that for 3. So if I look back at that piece of music here, can you see there's a tie? There's a tie there. There's a tie there. There's a tie there. And there's a tie there. And there's a tie there. There's a tie there. There's a tie there. And there's a tie there. That's probably not the best example to show you because that's a 2 quavers. So that's actually going to last 1 whole beat, that little bit there. And the same there. And the same there. And the same there. But can you see how it would look weird to write that any other way because they're actually grouped in their natural groupings there. So everything has happened for a reason.
Can I just say, Claire, on the word end, people might be thinking, well, there's a tie there as well, but it's not on the same notes, is it? So it's a slur rather than the notes being joined together.
Lovely point, Julie. Yes, you will see other lines. And as Julie's pointed out, that one looks somewhat similar to that one, doesn't it? But these 2 notes aren't. I'm going to have to. I'm trying to use my mouse to show you, and as soon as I touch it, it jumps. Yeah, those two notes are not the same. One's on the space and one's on the line. So that is just joining together smoothly. That's what a slur is. It's just driving it together nice and smoothly. And obviously you would be smooth if you're using the same word to join, sorry, yeah, same word to join two separate notes together. Okay. Right, let's do a little bit of asking now. So we've got somebody like to tell me how many beats you're going to hold on friend. So put your electronic hand up and hopefully you'll shoot to the top. Somebody please be brave. So how many beats are we going to hold friend on for? Thanks, Kerry. You're on mute, so. I'm glad it's not just me. Technology's let us down today.
I'm probably wrong, but is it 2?
You're very close. Right, this is probably a nasty question to ask first of all. We've got a 2-beat one. Yeah? There's a little dot after it.
Oh, I didn't see the dot.
Yeah.
I've got new glasses on, I didn't see the dot.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, you would be totally right if you hadn't seen the dot. If you hadn't seen the dot, you were totally right. But because it's got a little dot after it.
It's 1.5, isn't it?
It's going to be 2 plus half again.
Oh,
So 3. You have to be good at maths. They always told me at school that musicians and mathematicians were both the same, but my maths was absolute rubbish. So it didn't work for me for sure. Okay, let's give you well, I should have done an easy one first, shouldn't I? So I am sorry. I can't move my mouse around without everything jumping. How long would you hold? Oh, let's do a nice easy one. My for. Shouldn't. How many beats is my? Kerry, have you got your finger up?
it's 1, isn't it?
Yes, well done. That's 1, yeah. And what about the first note here for every? How long is that one? Kerry, do you want to answer that one as well?
Ooh, that's a tricky one.
I'm a bit confused with that one because it's got the lines underneath and it's connected, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it 3 though?
No, it's basically this one with a line, one line underneath is a quaver. That's when it's joined together. And when you've got 2 little lines, that's a semiquaver.
Yeah, I haven't learned that bit yet. Thanks.
Yeah. No, it is. I mean, it's like it's trying to teach you something that would probably take weeks and weeks and weeks of music theory in 5 minutes. So it's a lot to take in, I know. But I suppose the thing is you can come back to this and go over it again and keep going over it until it sinks in. Okay, let's move on. Has anybody got any questions at this point or clarifications? Does anybody want to go home because it's like, oh. No hands up, not that I can see anyway. Okay, we'll soldier on. Right, another little question for you then. These are just showing some of the ties again. Would anybody like to work out how many beats we're going to hold ooh on for the beginning? I remember it felt a very long time when we were singing this. Kerry? Oh, Jeannie, you've got your hand up. Well done, Jeannie. Thank you. I'll come back to you, Kerry.
8, I think.
Yeah, well done. It's 8. It's 2 4s, isn't it? So we've got 2 semi-breves or whole notes. So we've got 8 beats to hold that on for. Now this one's a bit more tricky. There's another tie here. Now that might be a little bit of a struggle, but we've got 2 different notes there, value-wise, but they're tied together. Anybody? Naomi.
2.5.
Well done. Yes. So we've got a 2-beat one and a half-beat one. So it's 2.5, that one. I must admit that one listening wise, you have to really listen carefully to get that rhythm correctly there. Smashing. Okay. Right. Let's move onwards then. Right. Would somebody like to tell me where they can see a tied note in this little piece? There's loads of them, so you could just tell me what word it's on or what bar it's in.
Is there
Gary?
is there one in the tenor line? The word
Yeah.
you, in the word you, and from?
Which bar are you looking at,
Sorry.
roughly?
So down at the bottom, I'm looking at the bottom, right at the bottom stave, from the word from and you.
Yes, perfect. Yes. The second bar on the bottom line, from is joined and you is joined. Brilliant. Okay. Would somebody like to identify where they can see a whole note or a semi-breve in the music then? I want to be brave enough. Naomi?
In the soprano line at the
Yep.
start,
Very
The
start.
whole line.
You've actually got
the whole line.
the whole line is full of long semi-breves there. Can you find a tied one while you're on this, while you're talking? Is there a tied one there in that first line?
Bar 3 and 4.
Yeah, they're tied together, so that's an even longer note. So that one would actually be, can I really put you on the spot? How many beats would that one be?
For 3 and 4.
Yeah,
8.
bar 3 and 4 together. How long altogether?
Too long. 8.
Yeah. Yeah, Simon and his long notes. Yeah, if that Life on Mars isn't quite as bad as some of the ones we've done, but there's still some long ones in there. Any questions on that little bit? Right, shall we? Okay, well, let's move on. I'm going to skip that bit. Right, we've got two versions here of Happy Birthday. Would anybody like to tell me what differences they can see in the actual rhythm? So the note lengths, don't look at anything else around it, whether it's got letters or numbers around it, but can anybody tell me the difference between the rhythms? Don't mind if it's one of the music team if you want to. Julie?
You've got dotted quaver to start with in the second version.
Yeah.
Right.
Can I really put you on the spot? You can say it, you don't have to sing it, but how would you sing those differently then?
In the first one, it would be just happy birthday to you. And in the second one, it would be happy birthday to you.
Absolutely perfect. Thank you.
Which is how we would
Yeah.
sing it, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, so the second one is probably more like we would actually sing it. What is it? So it's happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. We wouldn't say happy birthday to you. Well, we might do, but because it is interesting how you can just go onto the internet and find two completely different people having interpreted the same song with a different rhythm. But I thought that was quite interesting just to show you the difference between them. And they've even started it partway through a bar. So the actual emphasis is on the birthday. Tend to stress the first note of a bar or the first syllable of the word in the bar more than you would do the last. So in this one, the first one, it would be happy is actually more important than the birthday. I suppose you could argue that that's the case anyway.
But I think because they've put the chord with the second beat in the first one, that's stressed it more, I suppose.
Yeah,
hasn't it?
possibly. Yeah. Okay. Right. I don't know whether you noticed when we were looking at those pieces of music that every piece of music has something at the beginning that tells us what the time of the music is. And it's on the clef on the first staves, and it might appear within the music if the time changes. So sometimes the time changes within a piece. And this tells you how many beats there are in a bar. And it always has two numbers. And the top one tells you how many beats and the bottom one what sort of beat is. So if I give you this one as an example, this is what it looks like. It always comes after the clef. Remember this one from yesterday, this is the G clef or the treble clef. And it always consists of two numbers. So the top one tells you how many beats, and the bottom one tells you the note value. And you might say, well, what does 4 mean? So if you look at this little chart, and again, I'm sorry, this is British over here. If it's a 4 at the bottom, it's 4 of these beats, crotchets. If it's an 8 at the bottom, it's however many of quaver beats. In this case, it's 6. And this one, we've got minim beats. So in this case, it would be 2 minims in a bar. Now, I actually looked through our repertoire, and it's quite amazing that nearly everything we've done is in 4/4, because I was trying to find different examples of stuff that we've done. So I know Simon's not necessarily written everything, but it's almost as if he's chosen stuff that's all in what is actually a very, very common time signature. It's 4 beats to a bar, 4 crotchet beats, 4 1 beats. And I've just used the word common because often instead of 4/4, you actually see the letter C, which stands for common time, because it is a common usage of time. So don't be thrown by that. If we now look at, we've got 4 beats there, we've got 4 beats there, 2 beats, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if we look here, we've got a beats rest, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. That makes 3, and that's 1. That's probably confusing a little bit, but that's 1 beat there divided into 3. That's what that little 3 means. We've got a rest there, so that's 1, 2, 3.5. That makes it up to 4. 1, 2, half. That one makes it up to 3, and then we've got that will make it up to 1 as well. That's perhaps not the best example to use, but that begins to give you an idea how you can count what you're told at the beginning with what we actually end up seeing on the score itself.
You are good at maths, Claire. You see, every bar
I
has to add
can
up.
add up to 4.
Every bar has to add up to 4, though. That's why
Yeah.
maths and music go together, because
Yeah.
they just
Yeah.
has to be right.
Yeah, and if it wasn't,
I know every
Aye.
little semiquaver matters, and the
every
semiquaver
little bit-
rests.
every little bit matters. Yeah,
Can I just say, Claire,
yeah. You can say anything you like. Yeah, pleasure.
when you're trying to crack time signatures, you are much better at thinking of the notes in the American terminology, because time signatures look like fractions. Yeah, everything we'd all agree they look like fractions. So when the bottom figures are 4, then the American terminology of half notes and eighth notes and 16th notes correspond with the bottom figure of the time signature much better than ours do. So although I don't use American terminology, I do if I'm trying to work out a tricky time signature. So those of us who talk about quavers and crotchets, just spend a bit of time learning the American terminology, and I think you'll crack time signatures much quicker.
Yeah, you see, I hadn't actually had, hands up, I hadn't come across the American terminology until I joined the collective. Never heard of it before. And when people started, well, it's quite a lot of it, isn't it? Because we the Brits use these as bars with the lines, and it's measures. So there's quite a lot of terminology that we have to think through. And I've got used to it, but it can be a bit mind-blowing at times. Kerry.
So Debbie, are you saying that it is okay to learn it as a whole note, half note? I love learning in quarters and thirds and all of that sort of stuff.
I think you learn it the best way you can. For somebody coming in who doesn't already know it, I think learning it the American way is very easy and very logical. And you can certainly then look at a note and say, well, I know that's a crotchet now because I recognize it. But from learning, I think the American way tells you the values. Ours don't mean a quaver, crotchet. They don't mean a thing. Then they're not relevant to time at all. We just learn them. I know that a minim means 2 bars because I've been saying it since I was 6. But for somebody coming in as an adult now, learning it the American way first is logical, I think, and then learn what that note's called when you've learnt the values. I definitely think that's the way to go.
I know if you was Claire, give me something, give me 10 minutes, I'd be able to come back and give you all the information with the minims, the crotchets, and everything, because that is what I've learned. However, I don't have it here, and that's why I'm getting things wrong. However, when you hear like the half notes, the quarter notes, the eighths, I do know that. So I think it is best that I go back and do it the other way. But thank you anyway.
100%, Carrie, you learn the way that suits you. It doesn't matter what you call them, as long as you can end up understanding what you're doing and what you're singing and why you're singing it. What does it matter? It's just in a name, isn't it? It's what, as Debbie said, I can't remember not knowing these words because they were just taught us when we first learnt music. But if you're coming as a theorist later in life, I can see what Debbie's saying makes absolutely perfect sense. Geez, Debbie should have been running this session. Right, okay. I can't remember what I was going to do with this bit now. I think it was just looking again at just trying to make sure we were counting the beats in the bar. So we've got another 4. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I know what I was going to do. Giving it away now. I was going to, yeah, it's okay, it doesn't matter. We'll move on. We'll go on to the next slide. Okay. Just occasionally we have a musical introduction. So I just wanted to point out that sometimes you might see something like that on a score. And that actually means we have 4 bars. So that's actually supposed 16 beats where we don't sing anything at all. Okay, so that sign there is a pause, and that tells us how many bars. That's 1 bar's rest, and that tells us how many bars rest we've got there. Okay. Right. If you were here yesterday, we had a very, very quick look at what the lines and the spaces were called. And I'm going to try and help you recognise some other symbols that you might find on the page by looking back to the piano keyboard. And if you remember from yesterday, we said that these lines represented the white keys on the keyboard. And I'm assuming that everybody at some stage, if you've not actually plunked a finger on a piano when you were a child, even if you couldn't play it, or as an adult, you've all seen a keyboard and you know that it's made up of white notes and black notes. So all the white notes are these notes that you can see here. So the spaces, we said face, and we came up with lots of every good boy deserves fudge. What else did we have yesterday? Every good boy deserves
Favours we had.
Favours, yes.
Yeah.
And I was told every good boy deserves fish. And I'm sure maybe because it was stupid.
Maybe had one
Every
of our
green
buses.
bus drives fast was
Oh,
another
that
one.
was it. Yeah, every green bus drives fast. So there's ways of helping you remember what they are called. It does not matter if you know what they are called or not. You can read musically perfectly well in terms of its ups and downs without actually knowing that that's an F, that's an A, that's a C and an E. But obviously, if you want to go down that route, yeah, if you haven't already got there, then you can begin to work your way around learning them. But what do we do about the black notes? If we're playing a piano, we've got all these black notes. What do we call those? We call this one C, D, E, F, G, A, B. This one's red because it's called middle C, because it's bang in the middle. What are these black ones called? Okay, so that's what I want to just very, very quickly move on to next. Again, I'm hoping this is going to work. I'm going to play the piano. Badly. Right, can you hear that? Excellent. Right, I'm going to play you the white notes. I'd like you to listen very carefully to them. Okay, now I'm going to play you the white notes followed by the black notes. We'll do it once more, and then I want somebody to tell me how that feels, how it sounds, what the differences are. Hopefully they sounded differently. One might have pleased the ear slightly more than the other one. Anyone would like to have to sort of have a stab at saying what they thought the difference between those two were? Okay. How many people like number one better? Well, number two? Don't not care. Okay. All right. Well, the first one was what we call a scale. And those notes are, each of these notes are, without a note in front between them, are one space on the stave. These are half a space. You see how close those are together? Go the other way. Or so these are, that's what we call a tone gap, and that's what we call a semitone. Hopefully you can hear the difference between those. Right, so these black notes on the piano, when we sing them, they have a notation. So let me just see if I can get out of this without ruining everything. And they are these squiggles that you might have seen on the page, the sharps and the flats. So basically a C sharp, that's a C. So we sharpen it, we go up that way. So this one here would be a C sharp. So it's just half a step sharper, higher than a C. But equally, if we could call that a D flat, because it's the flattest note, it's the one after D. So that would be a D flat or a C sharp. So it's half a bit sharper or half a bit flatter. So the flats are going back from the white note, and the sharps are going forward from the white note. So if I look at this one here, oh, that's yours. Let's pull this. Oh. If I just pull that little, I thought that might be an easy way to help you see whether you could help it. So it's C sharp. Babe, I swear I've changed. That's actually a C sharp and that's a D flat. But if you were going to sing it, it'd actually be exactly the same note. If you use the keyboard as an example, that's the same note. It's a C sharp or a D flat. Now that's probably as clear as mud. But if I took this note here and moved on to that black note, that would be a G sharp, or it could be an A flat. Okay, this one could be an F sharp, or it could be a G flat. It doesn't matter what they're called. All you need to know is to recognize is that these signs on a page will mean that you're singing something slightly different than these notes that are actually on the line here. So let's see if I can give you some examples of that. First, before we go any further, we need to know which of the notes are sharpened. So you'll have seen this so many times at the beginning of a piece of music. And again, we seem to sing things with lots of sharps and flats in. This one's actually got 6 sharps. I think that's C sharp, is it? It doesn't matter, again, it doesn't matter what it's called. If that's a C, every time we sing that C, that one, for example, is going to be a sharp. So we don't need to worry. This avoids us having to write that sharp in front of every note. Okay. I'm going to go back to that in a minute. So these are the sorts of things that you might find at the beginning of a piece of music, and it tells you which notes are sharp and which notes are flat. And again, you don't have to understand it, you just have to know that that is a key signature. And if you go into deeper theory, you will understand. I can never remember, I'm all right with the lower ones downs, but you asked me to identify that one without having done a bit of preparation. Debbie's shaking her head as well. You think, oh, C flat major, G flat major. It doesn't really matter what they're called. It's just that all these squiggles at the beginning are telling us what the key is. In other words, what's the root note of it. Julie.
I was just going to say, you might find people have also got ways of remembering the different sharps that you have
Yeah.
to put. So
Have
it
you
was-
got any clever ways?
Well, yes, it was always Father Charles goes down and ends battle. So Father is F sharp, Charles C sharp,
Oh, right, okay.
like that. Father Charles.
Yeah,
goes-
so you learn what these are with
That's
them
right.
on
And
it,
then
yeah.
the flats were battle ends and down goes Charles's father. So it
All
was other way on. But
Oh.
I'm just throwing that
It's
in.
interesting how we're taught, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Why have I put? I think things have got a little bit out of sync here. Let's just go back. Sorry, so I skipped some bits, didn't I?
When you were on the piano bit, I thought you were going to give us a Les Dawson moment and play something without a sharp or a flat. Then we'd have decided which we liked best.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought this was quite nice as well, because I haven't done naturals yet, but that's a bald one. It's got no flats or anything, so it's B natural, B flat, B sharp, B quiet.
Yeah, that's
like all
good.
the rest there. Yeah, sometimes you'll see this sign. So basically that will mean that if you've had a sharp previously, you're not going to play a sharp, and that's called a natural sign or a natural note. So this F would have been that this F would, you think I'd learn, wouldn't you? I'm obviously not able to learn. I keep clicking it when I shouldn't do. So if this was an F sharp previously, then the composer is telling us we want to just sing a white note on the piano or an F natural. So yes, that's what I was going to go. I got that was in the wrong order. So if you look through this piece of music here, this is the key signature, and it always appears right at the very beginning of the stave, so that we know which notes are sharp and which are flat. And if you move yourself along this line here, that would have been a D sharp, because we've got a D sharp there, and then this one's naturalized, so it's a semitone, slightly flatter, and we've got this written in here just to remind us that we've got to go back to a D sharp, because the key signature here tells us that it's a D sharp. Okay, now I'm not expecting you to understand that. I'm just expecting you to understand that if you see that or you see that, that means the note is going to be slightly different to the one that came before. Okay, so that note is different to that one, and that note is different to that one. That's all you need to know. You don't need to understand necessarily that that's an F sharp and that's an F natural, but that note is going to be different to that one, and that note is going to be different to that one. Any questions at that point? Anything you want to say, Eek? How are we doing for time?
I would just say that the examples that we've seen today, I guess it's barbershop music, isn't it? Because you don't often see so many sharps in a key signature.
No. I've been trying to. I've thought it's worth tying it into the material that we've used, obviously, because that's
Good idea.
the text that we're doing this in. But yes, you could pick up any piece of music, and the chances of you finding something in 6 sharps or 6 flats or whatever, probably slimmer than some of the music that we've been singing. Although it might, to be fair, in my choir, we're not a barbershop choir, we sing quite a lot in C sharp. I think it must just be a good key for the songs that we sing and for our voices, but we have got quite a lot in C sharp. Right, Silke, I think your hand went up first.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that it's not really not a matter of barbershop music, but it's the fact that either songs are transposed so that they fit like best the whole group of the collective, or that Simon composes this, and then later on it's realized that it's such a key signature because he does everything just with his voice, and he doesn't care
That's true.
for the key signature there. So it's definitely not a thing of barbershop then.
Lisanna. Oh, she disappeared. Lisanna?
Yeah, Rosemary, does want to say something. She uses the applause instead of the hand up, so you don't see it.
Okay, all right, Rosemary, sorry.
Yeah, when you're saying that one note sounds slightly different because it's gone to a flat or a sharp from the note before it. So when you're singing, do you have to kind of make that distinction? Although it's the same note.
Yes, it is a different note. If you think about when I was playing
on the
piano,
score, it looks the same.
Yeah, when I was playing the piano example, they were very, very close together.
Just slightly out.
Just very, yeah. So the semitone is a very small interval. It's a very subtle interval, but obviously it's there for a reason. It's to make.
Yeah. So you'd hear that in Simon's voice.
Yes, you would do. Yeah.
Learned by listening, so you'd hear that very slight.
Yeah. Because if you ignore those signs, you might think that you're singing the same note all the way through.
Yeah.
So you're not.
Yeah, it's really interesting because now I know what I'm looking at.
Yeah, well, that was really I probably had to go into far more detail than you need just to explain something that's fairly obvious, but it's
really interesting. Yeah, I've got loads of notes now.
Oh, good.
Copy it all up.
Right. Okay. Let's see where we've got to. Kerry, you've got your hand up. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I resolve this. Kerry, go ahead, please.
It's just what I'm finding today is that actually it's just given us, you can actually now see what those sharps are. And so when I hear people say, oh, you know, do we start with an F sharp or whatever? I don't know, I'm just using it as an example.
Yeah.
You know, and you need to go half a key up or whatever. Is that's what this is, right?
Yeah. In a nutshell,
half a beat.
It's half a tone, yeah, in terms of if I go back to playing that scale that I played before, and if you were to just record that and keep listening to it, you can see the steps on the white notes are slightly bigger than the steps using the black notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, smashing. Right, okay. I think I'm just going to go through those because I'd just like to finish off by trying to sort of pull everything together before we have to finish. Okay, right. Now Debbie having said we should be using the American terminology, I'm going to start using that. So a crotchet, that's a quarter beat, isn't it, Debbie? Yeah, okay. So would I really have got to learn. All right, so I'm going to put on here all the words that we've used this morning, and I'd like anybody and everybody, anybody at all, to tell me any one of those words, if you can identify any one of those words. With an example from the piece of music we've got in front of me. So it's from Not the End. Or anything from yesterday even, that we haven't covered today. This is what you were in, when I was teaching, this is what was called the plenary. And this was to prove that people had actually learned something during the session that you'd had. And if nobody said anything and you had an inspector sitting in your classroom, they'd say, well, I haven't learned anything. So I want you to prove to me, please, that you have actually learned something. So would anybody just like to be brave and pick anything out at all of those words that we've used today?
Kerry.
Okay, Kerry.
You've got a rest in bar 17 before the word all.
Bar 17 before all. Fantastic. Would you like to tell me how many beats rest do you think that might be?
Oh, how many are in there?
Yeah, so you can work. Yeah. So you've got 4 beats in there. Do you remember anything?
2.
No, it's only a 1 beat rest, that one, but don't worry about it.
Is that because that's linked?
Well,
that's where I'm confused.
that symbol, that one there is 1 beat. That would be your 2nd beat. That's your 3rd beat. And that one is your 4th one because you've got the crotchet and 2 semiquavers.
It's moments like that, I would have to take that away and look at it.
Yeah, but you get it.
It's all the linkage that I get a bit confused with. It's not when I sing it, because I do it by ear anyway. So but when I see it, it's like, oh, So
Yeah.
that would be a moment that I would have to go away.
So your homework, if any of you want homework, is to go away and choose any score that we've done and just look through and see whether you can work out what you've learned, you know, what you've seen today, and whether it makes any more sense than it did before. But yes, these tied notes are obviously harder, aren't they? And this donation. So if that was written on its own, this is where I need a blackboard or a whiteboard to write on. I'd write that with a filled in note with a stem and a tail. But when you get two of them together, you join them. So you've got to have that vision in your head that they are the same thing, but they look slightly different. Can you see this one here? That's on its own because that's a 1.5 beat note. So that makes up 2 there. So that one there is the same as one of those there. Yeah. And that one there is the same as that one there. But they've joined together because you don't tend to write them separately when they're next to one another. Does that make sense, Carrie? Yeah, hope so. Right, so we've ticked off a rest. Anybody else like to find anything from there that makes sense? Debbie?
This is probably something that doesn't make sense, but it says key signature on the list, but obviously this piece doesn't actually have a key signature. I mean, we know that it does, but for people who don't understand key signatures,
true.
it looks like there isn't one. So
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I did realise that just as I put this on the screen in front of me, that we haven't got a key for this one that has any sharps or flats in it. And there is one key. Well, there's 2 keys actually. I'm not going to go. We're not going to go into minor and major keys, but this key has no sharps or no flats in it. So it has a key signature, as Debbie said, but it hasn't. You don't denote anything because there aren't any. So this is, again, a very simple key to singing. Right, somebody like to tell, let's make it a little bit easier. Would somebody like to tell me what the time signature is?
Lisanna has her
Oh,
hand up.
Lisanna has a hand up. Sorry, she didn't pop up to my.
It was just that I learned about the minim.
Right,
I was
okay.
always confused about it.
Okay, would you like to tell me where there is one? What word?
Yeah, do, first
Do,
do.
the very first do. Yes, that's a minimum. That's a 2 beat bar.
That's a half note because I'm used to the other stuff.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay. Right, can somebody find me a sharp then? Let me direct you rather than just saying find you what you want. A word
Naomi's a hand
sharp
up.
in it. Naomi?
Bar 28.
Yep.
There's 2 sharps.
There are one on friend and one on come. Smashing. Okay. Somebody find me a natural then. Sue, is that you?
Bar 29.
Bar 29. Fantastic. On which word?
C.
See, yeah. Actually, to be fair, that one isn't totally necessary because it's not, because that one was sharp there. It's not in the same bar. So in theory, you wouldn't need that one. But Simon's obviously been very helpful there to put that one in. But it's a good example to show us that that is back to a normal. Jeannie, you have your hand up.
There's another one down on bar 35, there's 37.
Yep. There is on this one here. There's a natural there. Fantastic. Right. I've not got time signature on there, have I? Is that the next one? Time signature. Yeah. Somebody like to tell me what the time signature is? Eileen.
4/4.
4/4. And what does that actually mean to you now? I think I saw your mouth moving, but we can't hear you.
Sorry, the 4 beats, so they're all value of 1.
Yes,
Yeah.
fantastic. Absolutely brilliant.
Claire, may I ask you?
You may.
Would there be a key signature on the score? Because it has got a sharp.
Yes, that's because that's the next that. Yes, it's not every time you play that or sing that note is it sharp. It's only when you sing it when it suits.
It's not written in that key.
No,
right?
no.
Okay.
So where these sharps are appearing,
Yes.
they are different
Accidentals.
notes, accidentals they call them, so that they are not part of the key.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. We haven't got any flats in this one, so that's not a very good example, is it? We haven't got any semi-breeds in this one. Sue.
Sorry, it's nothing to do with this. I've really got to go. I'm out, but I just wanted to say it's been really useful and thank you very much. But I do have to go. But I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you for your thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming and thank you for your input. Yeah, cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Sue.
Right, actually, we are out of time. She's actually nudged me that we are at 12 o'clock, up to 12 o'clock. Are there
Kerry
any
did
final...
have a question? Sorry.
Pardon?
Kerry did have a question in the chat.
Okay. Go on then. Kerry?
Oh, she says, would there be any educational sessions put on for more learning in this score learning?
Ooh.
Oh, you've done it so well, Claire. She's raring to go with learning more.
Yeah, it's not impossible, Kerry. We'll have to have a chat about it and see what we can do. Yeah, I suspect you get a bit of a thirst once you start. It's a bit like I did when I did Karen's barbershop session yesterday. I'm itching to have a go at that now. I'll probably be absolutely useless at it, but when you see somebody else doing something and you think, oh yeah, I'd like to have a go at that. So we'll see what we can do. Are there any general sort of thoughts or questions at the end before we wrap up? We need to take a photo as well, don't we? I'll stop sharing that.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that, and then we can see each other.
Yeah, that was your brains will probably be aching after that. It was a lot to take in, but hopefully it's given you a bit of an overview of what all these squiggles are on the page. And it's just a bit of a shame that we've not got a score for Life on Mars, because you could just go and like adapt it all. But by all means, take out your folders and look at your old songs and see whether any of what we've done the last couple of days has sort of put a light bulb on. Some of you have obviously said they have, but I hope it's been useful. Yeah, right. Eileen.
Sorry, it's a while ago Simon did do a lot on reading a score. So I wonder, could you retrieve that?
Was it done in the collective college last time?
Well, it probably was, but
yeah, we can get that. We can
quite a while ago.
Yeah, we can put that link out. Yeah, I'll see if I can find it. And I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Silke.
I think it was an educational session in summer 2020, something like that. It was even before.
Before collective college.
Yes,
yeah.
A while ago.
I'll see if we can find it. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, who would like to take me a photo? Anybody? Who's on photo duty? I'll do it then, shall I?
I was going to say it might have been.
No, I'd rather not. I'd rather not do the Facebook post. I'd like somebody else to do it. It's the.
Right. Well, let me see if I can take it, but I can't tell I've taken it right until it copies and pastes onto a Word document.
Yeah. What about Arthur? Arthur's probably able to take a photo. I'm struggling with photos at the moment as well.
Me too. Oh, thanks, Arthur.
Thank you.
Okay, say cheese, everybody. Cheese and chips. There we go.
Okay, thank you. Smashing. Right, we'll go and have a rest now. I'll come back to the coffee and chat in 20 minutes and wind down before we. This is the last. No, it's the last but one session. It's sad, isn't it? It's been a great weekend. But thank you so much.
Fantastic.
Thank you for your input.
Bye.
Okay.
Let's stop the recording.
Thanks, Claire.
Cheers, everybody.
Bye.
Bye bye. See you soon. Bye.
Thanks for coming